Hello everybody, welcome into the second edition of AD Update. Brandon Worth here with Athletic Director Steve Brocklebank, and we're going to have another episode. It seems like the fans really like the first one, so we'll give it another go.
Good to be back, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great episode. We're going to talk a new NIL deal for women's basketball, as well as we'll talk about the Calder Classic and how that came about. But obviously, it's hockey season, right? We got the rink set. It's cold in here, so I should have brought long sleeves, but it's okay. But we'll talk about the significance of that. Winter sports kicking up, as well as some fun developments happening at the Division I level. A lot of things seem like they're going around here now that we're a couple months in. Now that school's underway, it seems like there's a lot of things happening just throughout the NCAA, not only for us here with sports beginning, but also a lot of things looking forward ahead to the next seasons, as well as even the next year.
Yeah, you're right. So there are a lot, and we are here at the hockey rink, which is great. We open up conference play this weekend with Bemidji State, so excited about that. Team just got back from St. Lawrence, where they split on the road, and we were last home with Western, and then before that Miami, where we had 2 shootout wins. So looking forward to starting conference play this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting, and obviously with everything in full swing and hockey season in full swing, a lot of fans seeing a lot of the benefits. Obviously, everything college hockey being here, really fun to bring that whole event together, and just shout out to everything college hockey, and as well for everybody that came down, especially all the students. I mean, the Dog Pound was awesome, but a lot of fun things in store for the hockey season as well. Going to be heading over to the Quick Trip Face-Off in Wisconsin, as well as a really cool event that you and Lake State put together as far as their athletic department's going to go play in Traverse City. Just talk about those developments and how you schedule those 2 tournaments as well as that game.
Yeah, so we have typically the last couple of years been in the GLI, Great Lakes Invitational, which we love to be a part of, and we're going to be back in that next year. So we'll be in Wisconsin this year for that series, and that'll be actually in Milwaukee where that will take place, and then we'll be back into the GLI in 25, and it looks like we'll be back in the GLI in 2027 as well, which is great for us, and hopefully we can continue a steady cadence of being in the Great Lakes Invitational, especially now with it being played in Grand Rapids, right, at the Van Andels. So appreciative of Michigan Tech thinking of us and keeping us involved in that particular tournament. So looking forward to that, and obviously the tournament in Wisconsin and Milwaukee will be interesting, and I'm looking forward to going over there and watching us play in Wisconsin. So great opportunities for people during the holiday break if they're looking for something to do. Great opportunity to drive over to Milwaukee and watch some really good hockey.
Yeah, it's absolutely just a huge overall exposure aspect for the university as a whole. As much as the hockey game, super important, but scheduling a tournament like that, it's not easy, and it brings a lot of exposure to the university. Just talk about a lot of those things, the get-together dinners before, the banquets, the meet and greets, how much that is a part of it in as well.
Yeah, we do a lot with that, and that's a credit to our advancement team and our alumni relations group, and Brandy and Kathy and their help over there making all those things happen. But certainly we've done a great job, I think, of leveraging the GLI to continue to establish relationships with folks and reconnect with people, and we'll continue to do that places that we go. For example, when we go up to Traverse City to play Lake Superior State, I know that we have a big alumni event prior to that particular game, so deeply appreciative of what they do, our alumni relations team, to make sure that they're utilizing athletic events to engage alumni, right, and get people involved, and particularly, and then give them an opportunity to watch our teams compete. So looking forward to that. That was something that Lake State had talked about for a while, was wanting to do something in Traverse City. We were obviously very open to it, just given the geographic proximity that we have to Traverse City, the number of students that go to Ferris State from the Traverse City area. So it just made sense for us. So we'll see how it goes, right? It's a little smaller venue. There's some things that you sacrifice when you go to a venue like that. For example, the replay system, some of the suites, some of the amenities that you might get in your particular building, right? But I think it'll be a really good experience, and it just gives us a chance to spread our brand, the Ferris brand. And so the more often we can do those things, I think it's better. I know we're going to talk about the Calder Classic in a moment, and that ties into spreading the brand and taking our show essentially on the road and showing off not only Ferris State Athletics, but Ferris State University, and engaging alumni in those areas in which we're bringing that athletic event to.
Absolutely. Kind of like the Sandlot. Bring it back, and
Right.
Might not necessarily be all the bells and whistles, but it's still fun hockey at the end of the day.
Right.
But staying in the hockey realm, a new development, juniors now being eligible right away.
Yeah,
Changes the landscape of how a lot of rosters are being created, and especially for how a lot of the teams are now looking at their process and adapting to that.
Yeah, so that vote is actually, we thought, when you and I had talked earlier, we thought that vote was going to be done. It looked like it was going to happen in October. And so what the vote was going to allow by the Division I Executive Committee was going to allow for major junior players to be eligible to compete for us in college hockey. It looks like that's still going to happen by all accounts. That vote has been pushed into November. There's 3 major junior leagues in Canada that will be impacted by that particular vote, but it certainly looks like it'll happen. So that'll open up another set of prospective student athletes that just weren't available to us in college hockey in the past. So we've been able to recruit the junior leagues, just not the major juniors in the 3 leagues that are in Canada right now. So often those student athletes or those athletes in the major juniors were typically their only option was, once you entered the major juniors, was to continue down the professional route of hockey.
Right.
And so now they're going to have an option to come back and be a part of the college ranks, which I think was fantastic.
Absolutely. That, along with the transfer portal, it's really changed a lot when it comes to rosters and how they're created.
Yes, it has. Got to recruit your roster first, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
So, switching gears a little bit of breaking news as we're recording this, right? It was announced yesterday, switching over to basketball, which will be starting right across the hall here in a couple weeks. Even actually some exhibition action here this week and next week as we're recording this here mid and late October, I should say. Women's basketball getting a full team NIL deal. That is something that has not been done, I believe, right, in the whole Division II ranks, right? Just talk about that.
I guess I don't know that. I don't think it's been done. I haven't heard of any. I know that there are several NIL arrangements with student athletes throughout Division II. There is now the launch of collectives that are beginning to happen, I think, at the Division II level, from my understanding, talking to fellow member institutions. But this is the first, from what we can account for, a full team NIL opportunity, right? So Mitch Lyons Wealth Management has signed an agreement with our women's basketball team. They have to obviously do some advertising, some videos, social media posts. So there's several things that they have to complete within the contract. But it's the first time that we've had a team do that. So we've had student athletes that have had individual NIL deals. This is the first time that we've had a team sign an NIL deal. So excited about that opportunity for those women and the impact it'll make. And so obviously we hope that we can find more opportunities like that for more of our programs. It makes a difference.
Yeah, and I'm sure many fans are probably wondering, they've heard NIL mentioned, especially major Division I level, notably basketball, football, those sports. How does that differ, especially not only in the individual to the whole team aspect, but how does it differ a little bit from Division I to Division II?
It doesn't differ. I mean, it's the same opportunities. The student athletes in Division II have the same opportunities as student athletes in Division I. Name, image, and likeness does not differentiate between Division I or Division II. So our student athletes are taking advantage of an opportunity just like they would if they were at a Division I institution, right? So I think you hear more about them at the Division I level, and the more that you hear is typically around the collectives, right? And so that's a different aspect to name, image, and likeness. This is a true opportunity between our student athletes and a business, and they have certain obligations that they have to fulfill, like under any contract, and then they receive compensation for fulfilling those duties. So excited about that opportunity. But no, there's no difference. We have the same opportunities that a Division I student athlete would have in regards to name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, there you have it. Same as the big boys, right?
Yeah,
Same as the big teams. But another exciting development, a new rivalry, might not necessarily live up to Anchorbone yet, but with Davenport, the signed Calder Classic for football, very exciting development. I believe you said it was a 3-year deal, so they're going to be playing, we're each going to be playing, one's going to be at Davenport, one's going to be here, and then the third year will be a neutral site that's to be determined. But just talk about that development as well as just putting the brains together with Davenport and their athletic department and making it all possible.
Yeah, it really started with Mark Kimball and the Grand Rapids Sports Hall of Fame. That's where it started. So Mark brought Davenport and ourselves together and said, I think there might be some opportunity here to do something with the two institutions and to do something within the city or close to Grand Rapids, right? And again, going back to what I spoke about earlier, we have lots of students, just like we have lots of students from the Traverse City area, and we want to bring that hockey game up to Traverse City. We have lots of students, obviously, from the Grand Rapids area, right? And we have a campus in downtown Grand Rapids, so we certainly have a presence in the city of Grand Rapids. So how can we continue to expand that presence and that influence? And this is an opportunity to do that with the Calder Classic. So Mark brought us together, and this actually started probably a year and a half ago when this conversation started. So it took a while to get to where we were at, but at the end of the day, we're going to play. It's a 3-year rotating series, and the first game will be at our place, which will happen this year, which will be in week 11 of the season. We'll return that game to Davenport in 2025, and then in 2026, we're going to look for a neutral site to play that game at, and it'll be within somewhere close to or within the city of Grand Rapids, if we can do that. So we just got to identify that particular location. If for some reason we couldn't identify the location, then we would just return the game back here and continue the rotation between home and away. But the goal is to find that neutral site location where we can play that game every third year of the series, and then we create a trophy, the Calder City Classic Trophy, which will also be something that we haven't had. So excited about it. Davenport, I think credit to them. They joined the league. They were an NAI school. They joined the league. They've become very, very competitive. They've done an excellent job. And so I think this is an opportunity to showcase. We know we have an excellent football program. Davenport now is at the top of the conference every year with their football program. So just an opportunity to showcase two really high quality football programs and do it in a city where we're having more and more of a presence and just expand the brand.
Absolutely. A lot of things going to be developing, I'm sure, from that. And from a lot of the behind-the-scenes perspective, obviously, scheduling opponents is one thing, and that's hard enough by itself. But choreographing the whole series, right, the advancement that you talked about earlier, the game itself, a lot of the things that go on outside of it, there's a lot that has to be developed there, too, outside of just the football game. Yeah,
there will be. There will be lots of people that we brought in, right, as we continue to work through it and work through opportunities with it, especially as we play in that neutral site game if we get into Grand Rapids, right? So I think that'll happen. And, we had a great release. We did it right downtown at the Calder. And so University Marketing was heavily involved, and they did a wonderful job. Dave Murray and his staff did a great job with that. And obviously Rob Bentley as well as promoting it. But we had a fantastic release. We had a news conference right down at the Calder. I think we had every TV station there and a couple radio stations. So it was a fantastic release and a great way to announce this particular series.
Absolutely. Only probably blemish from that is we couldn't find Brutus's shorts. That was the one thing that was missing.
That's what I heard. I didn't even notice it, but someone said that Brutus was missing his shorts. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't see a lot of dogs wear shorts, so I thought he looked pretty natural.
Yeah, it looks natural. He was too excited, is what I heard. Forgot to put the shorts on this morning. So, but kind of switching gears a little bit. Obviously, with hockey being the lone Division I sport here at Ferris State, there's going to be some things that you have to really abide by to the Division I level, even though we have a lot of Division II institutions, right? The holistic model that just came out, I know you just talked to me about that a little bit and explained it. Yeah. Kind of talk about what's kind of developing, the new holistic model, what that's going to apply to not only Division I, but being here at Ferris State, one of the things that you mentioned, especially to me in a lot of the prep meetings that we did, is this is going to be applied a little bit to Division II just because of the way that we have it here procedurally at Ferris State.
Yeah, I don't see us. The new holistic model is something that we're currently working under. Started this past August. We're going to have to attest to the services that we're providing under the new holistic model beginning next year. So, and it certainly is something that we're not just going to isolate, even though hockey's our only Division I sport, we're just going to isolate these particular services to our hockey program. So it calls for several things. It calls for increased medical care post-graduation for student athletes, which we have always done here. So that's just going to be a continuation of a practice that we've always adhered to. It's continued financial support if you have to finish up academically, which we have typically done here too as well. It just calls for an increased level of that particular support. It calls for just a better holistic approach to student athlete mental health and health in general. And so we're going to do that, and that's something we're working on. We have Sarah Higley has done a great job of working with mental health services here on campus, and so we've enacted several programs, and we're going to continue to look for opportunities and ways to enhance the mental health services that we provide to our student athletes, both the evaluation of mental health with our student athletes, but also the services that are provided to our student athletes. So we're working with a campus counseling center to look at what services are currently being provided, how do we enhance those services, how do we meet mental health best practices as laid out by the NCAA, and so we're continuing to work on that, and I'm excited about where we're headed with that. It also calls for increased career counseling. It calls for financial literacy courses. Some of this has been addressed by us through the DOGS program. So the DOGS program launched, it's been a year now, launched last year was its first year, and Justin Jackson has kind of championed that. But that was something that we wanted to start, where it was an educational program where we were going to touch on a number of topics that we thought were important for student athletes to know about, and that included nutrition and financial literacy, transition to campus. There are a number of classes that are involved in the DOGS program, and so our student athletes are already participating in those classes. So we thankfully have met that part of the holistic model right away, because that piece was already in place. And then increased academic support for student athletes, and we've added a graduate assistant to help work with our student athletes, and we're looking at adding more academic assistants in-house in athletics, specifically to help student athletes. So that's just part of the holistic model. It's just more of a commitment to the health, the well-being, and the academic piece for student athletes.
Yeah, and obviously the mental health side of it, one notable initiative, especially the Student Athlete Advisory Committee has really been spearheading and championing, that is the Green Bandana Project, which also you mentioned goes into that mental health part too.
It does, right. And that's something that Sarah Higley and Andy Slater worked on together, and the Mental Health Task Force here on campus worked together to launch, and so that's been hugely successful. It started out in athletics, and now has actually been so successful it's expanded out to campus, right? So that's something that we want to continue to grow that particular program. So, but really pleased that is in place.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining us here, Steve. And I guess the last thing we'll leave people with is, as we're recording, it's a very busy weekend on deck, right? I know you're going to be traveling here and for all the events that we have. We have cross-country championships here at CACI, which is exciting. Volleyball is going to be home on Thursday. You also got a lot of things going on with hockey for the weekend at home, but also a lot of people are going to be in Allendale for that kickoff against the Lakers as well.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You know, our women's volleyball team, by the way, as we sit here, just looked at the rankings, is second in the country and still undefeated. Football is third in the nation. They'll be going to Grand Valley on Saturday for a 3 o'clock kick. Again, Grand Valley's number 1 in the nation at the moment. So, really, really exciting game there. And then hockey home with the CCHA, and then you mentioned the GLIAC cross-country championships here on Saturday morning. So yeah, it'll be a busy weekend. It's an exciting weekend. It's good. It's what it's supposed to be. It's the fall.
Absolutely. Bulldogs will be in full swing this weekend. You can be around Big Rapids as well as in Allendale to catch all the contests. But Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to leave to the fans?
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate doing the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. Be sure to subscribe Ferris Athletics on YouTube, and we'll see you for this next edition of AD Update.